In 1968, America was restless. Streets were loud, history was moving fast, and quietly, inside millions of pockets, a small silver-colored coin was changing hands without anyone noticing its future. The Washington quarter with no mint mark was born in that moment. Struck in cupronickel-clad copper, it looked ordinary, almost boring. George Washington's calm face on the front. The eagle spreading its wings on the back. Nothing flashy. Nothing rare at first glance. And that's exactly why most people ignored it. Coins like this don't announce their destiny. They wait. This quarter was not made to be a treasure. It was made to work. It passed through gas stations, grocery stores, jukeboxes, and parking meters. It scraped against keys. It fell on concrete. It lost its shine early. Dirt filled its letters. The eagle softened. Washington's hair blurred. Most collectors today would call it damaged, worn, abused. But history doesn't care about perfection. Sometimes the most powerful stories are written on the most tired metal. What makes the 1968 no mint mark quarter dangerous to underestimate is not how it looks, but what could have gone wrong when it was made. This was a transition era. Mint technology was changing. Metal compositions were still new after silver was removed. Pressures were adjusted. Dies wore faster. Small mistakes happened quietly. A slightly weak strike. A misaligned die. A missing detail no one saw for decades. These are not errors that scream. These are errors that whisper, and collectors listen closely to whispers. There is something unsettling about heavily circulated coins. They've seen things. A clean, perfect coin sits in a drawer. A dirty coin lives life. This quarter may have crossed state lines hundreds of times. It may have been in a soldier's pocket. A factory worker's lunch break. A child's allowance. Every scratch is a timestamp. Every dent is proof of survival. In today's market, survival stories matter. Collectors are no longer chasing beauty alone. They are chasing narrative. People make a mistake when they think value only comes from shine. Some of the most shocking prices ever paid were not for perfect coins, but for misunderstood ones. Coins dismissed for decades. Coins pulled from change jars. Coins that sat in coffee cans under sinks. The 1968 Washington quarter, especially with no mint mark and heavy circulation, lives in that dangerous gray area where discovery still happens. Not every coin becomes valuable, but every legendary find starts as just a coin. There is a reason experienced collectors never rush to spend old quarters. They pause. They look closer. They tilt it under light. They study the eagle's feathers. They examine Washington's profile. They look for doubling, weakness, unusual texture, strange color, or metal exposure. They know that one overlooked detail can turn pocket change into a headline. The kind of headline that makes people say, "That came from circulation?" Stories circulate in the collecting world about coins like this being sold cheaply by people who didn't know what they had. And later, those same coins reappeared in auctions with shocking numbers attached. Not because the coin changed, but because knowledge did. The market rewards patience. It punishes haste. A quarter spent for 25 cents can never be recovered. A quarter held, studied, respected, can rewrite a future. This is why serious collectors warn people not to clean coins like this. Dirt is not always damage. Sometimes it's protection. Cleaning erases evidence. It removes history. It destroys surfaces that experts need to read. A worn 1968 quarter in original condition tells the truth. A shiny one tells a lie. And lies don't sell in the long run. Truth does. Even when it looks ugly. The idea that a small, worn coin could carry life-changing potential sounds crazy until it happens. And it has happened. Not every time. Not to everyone. But enough times to keep people searching. Enough times to keep coin shops busy. Enough times to make collectors look twice at quarters others throw away. This coin doesn't promise wealth. It offers possibility. And possibility is powerful. So if you ever find a 1968 Washington quarter with no mint mark, scratched, dirty, tired, and forgotten, don't rush. Don't spend it. Don't dismiss it. Hold it. Study it. Respect it. Because history has a strange habit of hiding value inside ordinary things. And sometimes, the coin that looks the weakest is the one with the strongest story. In 1972, while America was distracted by politics, war headlines, and everyday survival, the Denver Mint quietly released millions of Washington quarters into circulation. Among them was the 1972 D quarter, a coin that looked ordinary from the first second it left the press. George Washington's familiar face on the front. The proud eagle standing strong on the reverse. Cupronickel-clad copper. Nothing rare at a glance. Nothing that made people stop. And that is exactly how history likes to hide its most dangerous surprises. This coin did not begin its life as a collectible. It began its life working hard. It moved through cash registers, vending machines, payphones, and parking meters. It was dropped, scraped, bent, and ignored. Over time, its surface dulled. Dirt settled into the letters. The eagle lost sharpness. Washington's detail softened. To most people, this where meant the coin was finished. To serious collectors, this where means the coin lived, and living coins tell stories that untouched ones never can. The early 1970s were a strange era for U.S. coinage. The mint was still adjusting to post-silver metal compositions. Dyes were used longer. Pressures changed. Quality control was inconsistent. In Denver especially, coins were produced fast, not carefully. Small anomalies slipped through. Slight doubling. Weak strikes. Unusual textures. Tiny details that were invisible to the public but unforgettable to trained eyes decades later. The 1972 D quarter exists right in that storm of quiet imperfection. What makes heavily circulated examples unsettling is that they were never protected. They were never saved. They were never expected to matter. And yet, some of the most talked about discoveries in modern numismatics came from coins just like this, coins pulled from jars, drawers, and old wallets. A dirty coin doesn't erase potential. Sometimes it hides it. Under grime, under scratches, under years of neglect, clues remain locked in the metal. Collectors know something most people don't. Value is not always about shine. It's about rarity of circumstance. It's about mistakes that shouldn't exist. It's about coins that survived long enough for the world to finally look back and realize something went wrong when they were born. The 1972 D Washington quarter sits in that dangerous category, common enough to be ignored, old enough to matter, and misunderstood enough to surprise. There are stories in the collecting world about quarters just like this being spent for face value, only to later reappear in private collections, graded holders, or high-stakes sales once the right eyes notice the right detail. Not every coin becomes a legend. But every legend starts as a coin someone almost spent. That's what makes this quarter powerful. It doesn't promise riches. It tempts possibility, and possibility keeps collectors awake at night. This is why experienced collectors never rush to clean a coin like this. Cleaning destroys evidence. It removes original surfaces. It wipes away the fingerprints of history. A worn 1972 D quarter in original condition can still speak. A clean one is silenced forever. Dirt is not always damage. Sometimes it is protection. Sometimes it is the thin line between discovery and regret. The idea that a small, tired quarter could hold unimaginable potential sounds unbelievable until you remember how many fortunes began with overlooked objects. Coins have changed lives before. Not because they were shiny, but because they were different in ways no one noticed at first. The market doesn't reward noise. It rewards patience, knowledge, and restraint. Those who wait often win. This coin carries the weight of American circulation history. It passed through hands that never imagined collectors would one day care. It survived decades of use, abuse, and indifference. And now, in a world obsessed with hidden value, it sits quietly, waiting to be examined again. Not as pocket change, but as evidence. So if a 1972 D Washington quarter ever crosses your path, worn, dirty, and forgotten, don't rush to spend it. Don't assume you know its worth. Hold it. Study it. Respect it. Because history has a habit of hiding power inside ordinary things. And sometimes, the coin that looks the most used is the one that still has the most to say. In 1980, America was changing fast. Inflation was rising. Gas lines were fresh in people's memory. The future felt uncertain. And quietly, without ceremony, the Denver Mint released another wave of Washington quarters into circulation. Among them was the 1980 D quarter. No special announcement. No excitement. Just another coin meant to work, to move, to disappear into pockets and drawers. No one stopped to look. No one imagined that decades later, people would be asking questions about this exact year and this exact mint mark. At first glance, the 1980 D Washington quarter looks painfully ordinary. George Washington's calm face on the obverse. The eagle standing firm on the reverse, wings slightly raised, guarding a nation that never noticed the coin watching back. Cupronickel-clad copper. Mass-produced. Designed for spending, not saving. And yet, history often hides its strangest stories inside objects that were never meant to survive attention. This coin didn't sit in a collection. It lived. It traveled. It scraped against keys. It slid across counters. It fell into gutters and cup holders. It was exchanged thousands of times without a single thought. The dirt, the wear, the softened details are not damage alone, they are proof of movement. Proof of survival. Proof that this coin was part of real American life, not sealed away in plastic like a museum piece. The early 1980s were not gentle to U.S. coin production. Mints were focused on volume, not perfection. Dies were pushed hard. Pressures shifted. Small irregularities slipped through quietly. Not screaming errors. Not obvious mistakes. But subtle differences that only reveal themselves when time passes and knowledge grows. Coins like the 1980 D quarter exist in that gray area, common enough to be ignored, old enough to matter, and mysterious enough to raise eyebrows. What unsettles collectors is not what this coin shows immediately, but what it might hide. Under years of wear, under layers of grime, tiny details can still survive. Die fatigue. Weak strikes. Unusual textures. Slight inconsistencies that were invisible in 1980 but become meaningful decades later. A heavily circulated coin does not erase its origin. It carries it, quietly, like a secret pressed into metal. Many people believe value only lives in shiny coins. Collectors know better. Some of the most talked about discoveries did not come from pristine rolls, but from tired coins pulled out of jars, inherited boxes, and forgotten drawers. The market doesn't reward beauty alone. It rewards rarity of circumstance. It rewards coins that shouldn't be interesting, but somehow are. The danger with a coin like the 1980 D Washington quarter is how easily it can be dismissed. One quick glance and it's gone. Spent. Lost forever. And yet, every year, stories surface of ordinary coins reappearing later with extraordinary attention once the right person notices the right detail. Not every coin becomes valuable. But every valuable coin was once just change. This is why experienced collectors treat worn coins with respect. They don't clean them. They don't polish them. Cleaning erases history. It removes surfaces that can never be restored. Dirt may look ugly, but it can protect original metal. Once that surface is gone, so is the chance to understand what the coin truly is. A cleaned coin is silent. A worn but original coin can still speak. The idea that a small quarter could hold unimaginable potential sounds impossible until you remember how often history laughs at certainty. Coins have changed lives before, not because they promised wealth, but because someone stopped long enough to look twice. The 1980D quarter doesn't shout. It whispers. And whispers are easy to miss if you're in a hurry. So if you ever come across a 1980D Washington quarter, dull, dirty, and clearly lived in, don't rush. Don't assume you know its story. Hold it. Study it. Respect it. Because history has a habit of hiding power inside the most ordinary things. And sometimes, the coins that work the hardest are the ones still waiting to be understood.